Right, so kickstarting into episode number 16 of the Over the Hill podcast, and going back to the roots of the essence of the podcast with this episode, getting back into underground music, back into pirate radio. And I'm with someone who, just before we come on air, we're actually discussing, we've kind of sat on different aisles and different sides of the fence in the pirate game over the years, never actually been able to have a conversation. But someone who I've obviously followed for a long time, someone who's been around the radio game for a very long time, involved in a lot of different stuff. And yeah, a face that you guys will probably recognize from Newsnight, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. I'm here today with the one and only Outlaw, aka Dan James. Dan, pleasure to have you on, mate. How you doing?
Mate, the pleasure is mine. I've been following the podcast and I'm rating it, so I had just wanted to get involved. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, man. Good. Yeah, I'm really happy you reached out, and yeah, you yourself. I spoke to a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Primetime.
Okay.
He dropped me a message as soon as I spoke to him. He was like, "Bro, I've definitely got to get Dan on. Definitely." And big up Steph. I'm going to get you on as well.
Yeah,
mate.
big up Steph, man. Original fanboy. I love that.
No, I'm going to get him on as well. Me and him go way, way, way back. But yeah,
he's a good guy.
Really is. So yeah, as I say, a lot of mutual friends, never managed to sit down and have a conversation before. So let's get a bit of insight into you, mate. How did you first get into the game and get into DJing, and what sort of drove you into the arms of pirate radio and the underground scene?
I'm gonna be totally straight with you. There was only one station for me back in the day living in South London, and it was Don FM. And like that station just blew me away. Cassettes were in, everything was getting recorded, that was what got me into radio originally. Yeah, that was the number one station at the time for me.
Yeah, whereabouts were you living? Because I know most of the people I grew up on, like literally, I could see the Don Tower from my yard. Like that's where I grew up. So like I know around there it was everything to everyone, and everyone knew who people were and everything else. Whereabouts were you? Were you around that manor?
I wasn't in that manor. I was actually in Sutton, which is in Surrey. You obviously know it. But yeah, no, Don used to just we all know about Don Tower, don't we? I've used it so many times, and it's just a banger. I mean, that location on Southfields, it was smashing north, south, east, west.
Yeah, proper went everywhere, and back in them days as well. Obviously, like all radio stations, if they had a decent setup, there wasn't as many high rises as there are now. There weren't as many ridiculous amount of stations and community stations, and I mean Don at one point was 105.7, and you look at what's sandwiched either side of that nowadays. It's a bit nuts. So
it's mush. I mean, and then all these legal stations using so much power as well, and I don't think there was that much. There wasn't as many pirates around, and there wasn't all the legals using all the power, which obviously creates wash around harmonic frequencies and stuff like that. So, they used to smash that off that site. That's a wicked site.
Proper. So, obviously, listening to Don FM, is that what got you into DJing itself?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it is. Because I'm so old, my memory's a little bit hazy.
Brother, I'm younger, my memory's hazy.
You don't know too many babes. So, yeah, I think it was Don. Don was one of the main ones that got me into it. I was a fanboy, like I was saying. And obviously, I used to listen to Transmission One. I listened to Ricky IS as well. Lots of those sort of stations. Anything that I could pick up down Sutton Way in Surrey, I was listening to. But for me, Don FM was the one. That's what got me started. When I first started DJing, I remember my mate said to me, he was like, it was a station called Vision. You might not have heard of it. And it was over in Bromley. It was run by a girl called Lady Vex. And we met her through...
Famous name in radio, that one.
Yeah. We met her through Wax City in West Croydon. Remember Wax City Records? I hope that's right, because my memory. And then we ended up going over to Bromley and playing on that, and that's where that was my first interaction with radio. And then through Tracy, I got in contact with an engineer, and I just started thinking, you know what? I don't need anyone else. I could do this myself. I mean, I learned from the ground up, like blowing up a lot of transmitters and like getting my screwdriver out, sticking it in a transmitter, and then turning it on, and it going bang. And I was like, blah, blah. Can I come and bring it back to fix it? I mean, I learned the hard way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mate, it's always interesting. Like I was talking to Ricky about it. Obviously, you had the episode. Like he was saying, he did most of the setups on his own, which is like bonkers in and of itself. And I know you've been involved in so many stations over the years, and we'll get into that and you know, the process behind setting up and that, and try not to bait up too many people. But
Yeah, I'll try not to, guys.
yeah, but obviously, you know, moving through the gears, got into radio, got into engineering and stuff. What you know, how did the obviously you're best known for the Flex FM connection,
Yeah.
among other things. How did you get involved with the Flex guys? Obviously, Flex, as everyone knows, was sort of born out of the ashes of Don and you know that kind of
Yeah.
thing, and everything else around the manor there. So, how did you get into sort of working with those guys?
So I was doing at the time. I was doing a station called Outcast from Sutton, and it was a bit of a I don't know. It was literally what it said on the tin. It was Outcast. It was sort of anti-garage. It was like some of the guys, they were banging to their techno. They'd go to demonstrations and things like that. But one of the other engineers on Outcast, a guy called Alfie Slims, he knew Rob Lowe pretty well. Like I think they went to school together or something like that. And then what happened was Flex was sold by Easy D and Kappa. Decline actually bought it. This was around the times of Smoke the Reefer and that, maybe a little bit before. And they couldn't link. So it's like, let's just go and help them. So I was like, we went over to Flex. Obviously, I was a fanboy. You know what I mean? We went over to Flex and I was like, we went to their studio at the time. And it was like, where's the block? Like, and it's microwave league. I was like, where's the block then? I can't, I don't know. Like, I was like, what? Like, because I'm on the block with Decline, Billy Wiz, Simon M, a few of them guys, and I'm Rob Blow and that. And they couldn't even see their studio. They were trying to link this thing. So I was like, oh, well, I've got to help you guys. So that's how it started, really. I just started helping Flex and then ended up leaving Outcast because that's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's how I got into it through Rob Lowe. Remember Rob Lowe, kid? Yeah, man.
So that would have been around like sort of, as you say, those Smoke the Reefer days was like 99. So
Yeah.
end of the 90s sort of time. Yeah. Mate, I remember when I was a kid growing up, I've said it a couple of times on the pod, obviously living in Southfields, biggest stations around were Flex, Flight and Delight. Like they were the three that were like always on, always booming around the area. And obviously like had connections with like friends that played on them and friends' older brothers. And Flex was around like the back of my yard, like on one of the blocks around there. It didn't matter which one, but it was always on one of them around the area. It's just
Southfields, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's almost as if it was built for what it was used for. Do you know what I mean?
It certainly is that, mate. Yeah. It certainly is that. It's just on a massive hill. I mean, I look at it as the southwest side to Crystal Palace. Yeah. It's not quite as good as Palace. No. The triangle is just the best. I don't care what anyone says, it's the best. But yeah, it's sort of like the dip going into London, isn't it? In between the two hills, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. It's great. Even when you just like anyone who's ever been up in the blocks, like my sister's best friend when she was in school lived in the block next to Don Tower, like one of the smaller ones there on Keevil. Yeah. Even that is like, even from the top floor of that, and it's only like 7 or 8 floors, it's just ridiculous. Like you can just see everything for miles and miles.
Well, we actually used those blocks just on Keevil Drive, just behind Don Tower, because Don Tower was just flames. As soon as you put anything up there, even resemble a stack or a dipole or anything like that, it was just getting clapped by ones of council. They'd be on it. So we used the ones behind. We used to use the straight, and we used to climb up. I remember that the door to get to the roof was on a few floors down from the top floor. So it's a bit confusing, and anyone going to steal it would always go up the top and think, what's going on here? But it was like a big cat ladder climbing up. So we used those many a time. And obviously me being the skinny outlaw that I am, they used to send me over the back of the water tank, and there was a tiny little gap, and I used to climb down and lock it around the water pipe. And it was like, you know, anyone who was over a certain stone, they weren't getting it. They weren't pulling that out. Good times, man.
Built-in security, you got to be skinny to get in there.
Yeah, you got to be skinny, man. Otherwise, you ain't getting in the gap.
So Don Tower, we'd probably both agree would probably be the best location, but you were using the other ones around there. The one just on the corner at a roundabout there as well. I vaguely remember seeing a few bits up there over the years.
Yeah. We used we just call it the Devil because it's got like a 3 fork coming out. It's like, I think it's police. So we use that quite a lot actually. And there's one further up called Bisley, which is the white one, that's the daddy. I've got another story to tell you about that block as well. Geez, but that one at Tibbetts Corner roundabout, we basically got up on it And me and Wise, used to be Outlaw and Wise back in the day. Me and Wisey climbed it. And if you go and have a look at that block, that pole, it's a joke. Yeah. So we climbed up it, and then we drilled a hole through the scaffold tube and de-locked the rig at the top of the pole because it was a proper mast. I think it was a police mast, and it slapped up. Yeah, it's a police mast, and it slapped our dipole on top of the police area. We thought, have that. And then little did we know about it was a few days, and the next thing there was just feds everywhere down below. It was like, oh, let them have it. Let them go and get it. I was like, leave that one.
Outlaw living up to his name for real.
Yeah, of course, man. He got it, wasn't it?
So, yeah, real pirate radio history. Obviously using the blocks on top of Southfields. Whereabouts were the studios located? Was it all pretty local around there at that time as well?
Yeah, there was a studio in Roehampton. There was a studio actually on Southfields, which is a bit of a naughty one. We actually squatted it, and then we just sort of took over it and sort of claimed it, and then literally we could just see the block like that. It was literally just a quick turn, like what Ricky was saying, turn the horn away a bit, yep. turn the LMB, low noise block for anyone who doesn't know, away slightly, so because literally we would throw a stone on the aerial, do you know what I mean? But we had a studio in another squat down in Roehampton, which was above the sweet shop at T's house. We were there for quite a while, and there was another one at Man Like Reckless's house where we had booth built in. I mean, it was even wallpapered the same colour as the walls. It was jokes. It was tiny little thing. You get in there, oh my god, you get so hot in there. But that was a good studio, man. That was jokes,
mate. Perils of pirate radio studios. Number one is always the heat. The heat is just even in winter. You go to a gaff in winter, and you've got to wear clothes because you're going to middle of an estate somewhere. You know there's going to be no heating in the flat itself, but then you get in there. And it's just bollocks soup, mate, for the next 2 hours. It's an absolute problem. The other fucking criminal, which I'm sure you've heard on the other podcast, is the microphones, bruv. Those microphones. If you use pirate radio microphones back in the day, you don't need a COVID vaccine.
Yeah, oh my god, you don't. You really don't need a vaccine for anything. They were just a breeding ground of it. Was dirty. If you the way you look at it, oh mate,
you'll never meet a pirate radio DJ who's got AIDS because he's immune to it.
Yeah, that's it. I had that back in the day and I got rid of it. Yeah, man. Good times. Yeah,
really, really is. I vaguely remember through pirate radio folklore and through mutual friends, an actual studio in the lift motorroom upstairs on a block somewhere as well.
How do you know about that?
I know a lot of things.
Oh my god, I've actually still got the video. It was who was it? It was we did it on a Sunday. We didn't have a studio, and I went, let's put it in the it's a water tank room actually, not a lift motor room, and it was on the stilts. You know the stilts from Roehampton?
Yep.
Yeah, opposite Richmond Park. Basically, we climbed up and opened it up and just used that, and then just beamed to the block. We were there for all day. We got till Merlin in the evening, and then the council and the feds turned up. Who was my MC on that day? Actually, that was Loki, Goldie's MC. He was MCing for me that day. That was jokes. Then the feds were down the bottom. Council come up, and I think it was Danny was on his own, and they were like, "Oh, we'll distract the old Bill," because we got on all right with the council. We were sweet with them, and he goes, "I'll distract the old Bill. You can get the decks in the back of the car and just duck out quick." We managed to get all the gear out, get away before he got nicked. Jesus. Yeah, that was jokes, man. I've got the video, man. I should dig it out. Because I remember the video. It's like Loki's going for it. I'm mixing on the ducting for the extraction for the flats. The 1210s are on that, and then the cameraman's bopping on Loki and me, and then the door opens. He goes outside. And we're on top of the roof. And it's just like, what the? Yeah, it's deep. That was deep. That was funny.
That's actually brilliant. I've listened to. I've got to send a shout out to a guy called Paul S. The Paul S. podcast. He's been on my show. He done a podcast with Pyro. He used to set up for a lot of the North London stations. And he was saying about one station he was helping set up one time, and they had trouble one night, and basically the boys they were having trouble linking and everything else, and it got to the stage where they just said bollocks to it, and they took their decks up to the block and just ran direct for the night.
Yeah. But the trouble with that is because of the transmitter. Have you ever seen what the turntables do? I've gone direct before, right? And they ain't even plugged in, and the turntable starts spinning backwards. I ain't even lying to you, man. Like, it's just radiating the turntables. They start spinning backwards, like, what's going on here? Like, they're not even plugged in.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's mental, man.
Radiation poisoning for sure.
Yeah, man. But yeah, no, back to Don. Let's talk about Don Tower, not Don FM, Don Tower. I've got a good story to tell you about that one. I've got it's one of the times when we actually spent a few nights in Wandsworth Police Station. We went to South. This is with Flex 997, and I had a technician at the time that lived in Brighton. I'm not mentioning no names. Never mention a technician's names, but he was he was the man. He was the absolute man. He had an old BBC rig. Yeah, it was mate. It weighed an absolute ton. It was like something from the 70s, and I was looking through all his rigs and his stuff, and I was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Look at the size of it." I goes, "That's got to be doing about a kilowatt in it, or something like that." And I was like, "Stick that on 997." And I was like, "How much do you want for it?" He was like, "Oh, I don't know, like nothing, like just gives a few £100." I was like, "Stick that on 997." So he built this rig, right? So I've got this rig. I've got no idea, like, because he didn't have all the scopes where you could tell how much power it was doing all that. He was just a mad professor genius. So he's built this rig. So we've lugged it up on Don Tower, right? But this is 997. There's me and another two fellas. We've got it up there. And I've spent ages planning this thing out, right? I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I was like, I found a door on the 12th floor, right, that opens outwards. So you couldn't kick the door through because the frame was just solid, yeah. So I was like, okay. And there was some duct work coming down. Obviously, being an electrician, I'm always looking at things like that. So it was like metal trunking, and it went down through a couple of walls, a couple of corridors, and all that. So I put the rig in there, got some power into that room, changed the lock because I knew they couldn't kick the door through, right? And then run all the coax through the floor and all through the metal trunking. So when you went up on Don Tower, all there was an aerial and an LMB, and I never got to turn it on, right? Because my pal had a big old wrench when we were doing that with scaff tubes, and he dropped it. And we were there at night like idiots, about 1 a.m. or something stupid, dropped it on the roof. So whoever lived in the flat, cheers for that one, nice one. And then they've called the feds, they turned up, helicopter, everything, bruv. They think we're climbing in from the roof to like rob people, right? Oh, you couldn't write it. And I'm standing there by this rig, and feds just turn up, and I'm like, oh, mate. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what? I'm just standing here like, So they got that rig, yeah, and then my pals on the roof putting the area up. They got pinched. I didn't say anyone's up there. I just went, I ain't saying nothing. I went, I'm just standing here doing my thing. I never got to turn that rig on. Yeah, Ofcom were up there for 3 days trying to work out how I'd run the coax and run the cable and the power and all that. 3 days. And I tell you what I know. I come out of Wandsworth Nick, and I went on the blocks opposite and watched them. They were still up there trying to work it out. Right? Obviously, they got 2 rigs off me that night. They got a 150 and that monster thing that was good. I've got the printout from Ofcom. It says this transmitter, the first transmitter, which is the 150, measuring 146 watts on the frequency of 99.7. And then the next transmitter, unmeasurable amount of power. And I was just pissed. I was like, bruv, why did you drop that? Why did you drop that adjustable? Bruv, I never got to turn that monster on, bruv. I was going to light up London with this thing, I tell you. It was a joke. And then they took me to court, banged me up for burglary, and then tried to go for a 20 grand fine. 20 grand? Where was I going to get 20 grand from? Come on.
Jesus.
Doing pirate radio. Come on, it was a joke.
We've had this conversation on the podcast about like they seem to think, and loads of people seem to think, even people like I've met throughout my life, when they ask me about DJing and that, they seem to think like, oh, so like when I used to do my Flight FM show, they'd be like, oh, so how much you get paid for your Flight FM show? I'm like, are you fucking mad?
It's a madness. I just wanted to switch this monster thing on. Like it was just like Frankenstein's transmitter. I just wanted to turn it on. I was just like, oh,
even if it was only on for an hour, it was still working.
Yeah, I couldn't care. Long just like, yeah, bro. It was fun. The amount of times they've had me in court, it's got to be about five or six that I've been pinched. I tell you, I've got stories for days, bro.
So you touched on obviously Flex being on 99.7, but originally obviously it was 103.6.
It was 103.6, yeah.
When you sort of left, what sort of time was that? Was that like around early 2000s?
I didn't. It's such a difficult one to explain. I don't know how much you actually know and what I can and can't say, but we got so big quickly, like mad quickly, like it was too much, and we weren't ready to handle it. we honestly weren't. I don't care what anyone from the Flex
Well,
camp says.
especially off of the back of the bigger garage tunes as well, like the I Don't Smoke, the Genius
Yeah,
Crew thing, and
yeah,
everything
yeah.
else.
We
Like,
was killing it.
yeah, it was a bit
We,
ridiculous, man.
mm,
And that's what Ricky was saying on the episode I done with him as well. Like when
mm,
he went up to the fella from the DTI and he was like, "Why do we keep getting hit 3 or 4 times a week?" He's like, "It's
yeah,
just too big. It's just too big."
yeah, yeah. But we just did it in a few years, like a really short space of time, like 3 or 4 years, and we got all the attention we wanted, but we also got all the unwanted attention, and we just got all the ag, and we couldn't cope with it. I ain't even gonna lie. It was just like we were getting hammered from every angle. We had people coming, switching on our frequency, people just targeting us. When this is on top of Ofcom as well, like, or should I say DTI back then? You know, we were getting hammered, mate. But like it was every angle. And it just, that is the reason I stopped with the 1036. Plus they allocated that frequency to a legal station as well, which killed us.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like what Ricky was saying, it was like one or 2 weeks, and then we lost 10 rigs, and they were just murdering us. Like it was crazy. I mean, we had that with when we brought it back on the 99.7 Flex. We had that, and I ain't gonna lie, they nearly won. We were down to our last rig, and they nearly won, and then they gave up. We actually beat them. We broke their will, just through sheer determination, going, because I was on it. All the man from 997 and that, we was on it. Like we weren't off for more than 3-4 hours. And if it was 3-4 hours, which because we were moving site, do you know what I mean? We were like, I'll be back on in an hour. Like, have that. Don't take that one, and I'll be back on another hour, the next hour, then the next hour. But you can't, like you were saying about the money side of things, without big money, big backing, you can't financially afford it. It just ruins you, and it just kills your will as well. But we beat Ofcom, and I've said it on the record, Ofcom could stick it, because we beat you and you gave up. You gave up before we did.
You know, pirate radio DJs cheering all over the gaff listening to that.
you know.
So, I wanted to touch on, the reason I mentioned the frequencies is because I wanted to touch on what you did in the in-between time after you left Flex and in the time of bringing Flex back. Because I know you were on a station local around the area called Resist as well. I think it was 106.9. That was where you were there with Carl and a few others. And rumour has it that you were doing some work for some North London stations as well.
I was.
So what else did you get up to after the Flex days?
Oh, what didn't I get up to? We were doing Resist. We did Resist for a bit. We done a station called Dance UK, which was 107.6. I was doing Rude Awakening with Chillam and Cyrus. And that's the thing. Now I've got the opportunity to say it. Cyrus, it wasn't me who clapped your rigs. You know who it was, so stop blaming me. I used to get some bad publicity out here, bruv. I'll tell you, I used to do my nutting. It's like, oh my God, yeah. So we were doing I love Rude Awakening. That was one of my favourite stations. I ain't gonna lie, man.
Rude Awakening, that was like an offshoot of Rude, right? So they kind of went 2 different ways.
Yeah, I believe Chillam and Cyrus, and is it Fuji? I believe they split. Fuji done 88.2, and then it was 104.3 and moved down to 104.2. And that studio was just legendary. It's Labyrinth. It was in Club Labyrinth. It was just the most legendary studio going. It was just, every time I used to go there, I used to be grinning. Yeah, it's jokes, man. And then after that, I ended up partnering up with Mr. Nasty V, and we put Don FM back on.
Yeah, so I remember that when it happened.
Yeah.
So were you doing much of the setups for station Resist and Rude and that?
Yeah, I did a couple of setups for Rude Awakening. I did a lot of setups for Resist. Dance UK, I did a lot of setups. I did all the setups for Don. Yes, I'm a roof man, really. I'm a roof man before a DJ. That's my thing. I'm a technical guy, innit? Electrician. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, mate, I always heard and like saw on a couple of the forums that we're both members of that, you know, you've been involved in the Rude Awakening and that. And yeah, that station used to boom back in the day. Obviously, Rude's another one of them stations that they would literally sit and wait for it to get turned on, and they would go up and take it off again. And then they were doing it to Rude Awakening as well. It's like they just target certain stations over the years. You know, it just kicks off.
Yeah,
Um,
go on. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say. So, what was behind the decision to come in with partnering up with us? Because I know you kind of did the United Pirates of London kind of thing. Was
That's
it what it
correct.
started to be
Yeah.
called? And I remember sort of like everyone that was on Flex and the Don guys, everyone who knew each other anyway, really
Mm.
partnered up. What was the process like for that? And what how did that decision come about?
Do you know what? I was chatting to Milky on the phone earlier, actually, and I was going, when did we do Don FM? When did we bring Don FM back? And he was like, oh, you know what? Oh, he struggled with me. So I think we were all sort of scratching around a little bit. And we were just like, and we started chatting with Vernon and a few of the other boys. We were like, let's bring Flex and Don back together. Yeah. And it was like we had new members, old members, we had all sorts of different people, hence the United Pirates of London. And then we just started doing that, really. I don't know. We all linked up. We all chipped in some money. Ofcom. It wasn't funded by big money or drug money or anything like that. We all chipped in and we all working men out here. And yeah, it didn't work out. But I think that's because there's too many big personalities all trying to work together and everybody's got certain ideas and how they want to do things. And it's one of them things. I still enjoyed it. I had a great time.
That was on 104.2 when you brought it back, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah. And we had, like, I believe someone was talking about Bizim. Was someone talking about Bizim?
I've been talking about Bizim on the show.
Yeah, and Bizim were on there as well and decided to try and claim that dial. And yeah, that's another story for another day.
I remember I was living in North London at the time, and obviously like knew a lot of people up there. I actually know, like, aforementioned person on the podcast actually was doing some of the setups for him. Although he's not really, with the Turkish man.
Yeah.
But they were hiring certain engineers from North London to do that. So, I remember at the time hearing you lot come on and thinking, well, hang on a minute, there's these Chavies down in Tottenham, and that's going to be a bit light. And obviously, as I say, I knew Steph and I knew a few people on there. I was like, oh my God, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Happens all the time.
Shit happens, mate.
Yeah, indeed. So obviously, you said Don didn't work out. And yeah, the re-emergence. I remember, I think it was around 2009. My mate, Mr. E, who I've done loads and loads of work with, he's good friends with Billy Wiz, and Billy's good friends with another friend of ours called Sol. And Sol invited Mr. E down to do some shows on Flex on a Sunday morning when it was first back on 90, I think it was 94.2.
That is correct. 94.2.
I actually came down and done like a midnight till 2 a.m. with E and Billy Wiz one night as well.
Okay, yeah.
When it was still in the shed in the garden.
Yeah.
So I remember it coming back fondly. Obviously was quite excited about it coming back. What was behind the decision? Was it just kind of the Don FM thing didn't work out and you just thought, fuck it, let's do it?
Yeah, I mean, in between that, I had moved down to Brighton with my girlfriend at the time, and then I came back up to London. We went our ways. I came back up to London. I actually moved into a flat with Danny Masters, DJ Merlin, and we were just chatting. I was like, that Don FM thing pissed me off. I won't go into it, but it just pissed me off a little bit. So I was like, let's put Flex back on. So I used to do Resist with Carl, and I thought, I know it'd be damn. Let's go and get old Carlos out of it and get him involved. So that's what it was, really. Don FM did leave a little bit of taste in my mouth, a little bit. It was just I just wanted to show people how it should be done and how it is done. Because I remember at the time, all the forums were like, I'll give it a couple of months or I'll give it this and all that. Bruv, what you lot chatting about now, eh? What are you chatting now? You can't say nothing. Yeah, we weathered the storm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, big up everyone who used to go on Who's Locked back in the
day. Who's Locked, Locked. Oh, that's jokes.
Yeah, mate, some of the people on there that used to just like kick off left, right and centre about like literally as soon as any station would come back on or someone would do something, it'd be like no. And I know a load of people who are on Radio Next listen to this podcast as well. Big them up because they've been really
big up Radio Next, man. Definitely big you guys up.
But there's still some of you that love to bitch.
That isn't me. I'm not that guy.
I'm pretty sure a well-known pirate radio thief has been on that forum and been blocked for life as well. So he's the one that loves to store up the most trouble. So once he's
definitely
gone, everyone else seems to calm down. He's actually on TikTok now. You know that?
I've seen the videos. Do you know what? Yeah, I was with Slimsy the other day down in Brighton, and That's the first thing. Like, it's the first time we've actually met, right? And he was like, "I went, I know you." And he went, "Yeah, I know you." It was a mad thing. And then we started talking about radio. Just started showing me these videos of the certain person that I'm not going to give love to,
Yeah.
and then I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
It's bonkers. It's
One of,
bonkers.
one of my pals stumbled across it and he went and he sent me a link to it and he's like, "Oh, bruv, this geezer's telling all kinds of like radio stories and that you should get him on." And I looked at who it was for a minute and I went, "Do you know what?" I went, "It would be the maddest, probably highest rated podcast I've ever done."
Probably, yeah,
But
probably.
out of principle, because he'd done us loads of times. Like I know he did. Like he's probably done you. Like, he's done everyone over the years. And he's
Go
the
on, go on.
person that brings so much controversy and negativity to
Yeah,
for everything like you were talking about on you did the documentary with that one fella Matt, I can't remember what it was called.
Matt Mason. It was the
Matt
Vice
Mason.
documentary. Yeah,
So you did that and you've done a Newsnight thing and you said on it like nothing negative should come out of it,
that's
whereas
right.
the documentary that my man was on, it
Mm.
nothing but although the one good positive thing that has come out of it is people just do nothing
And that is
and
very, very
corrupt
true.
FM.
Yeah, that is
And
the
they've now got a
thing.
movie coming out as well. So
Yeah, yeah,
they took that and flipped it. And big up them
they
guys.
did.
I must say this: them guys aren't biting off the culture either, because a couple of them boys they were on like Scandal FM and a few other stations there. So
Yeah,
they were actually. I had them when we had our Ice Culture. They came on before it even blew up. Like when it was just a YouTube show before it went on BBC. They came on. And I was chatting to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we know like Stevie, and we use the blocks in Kingston, and blah blah." Like them boys have been around from days, so big them up. But yeah, the only good thing that's ever come out of that geezer's career
yeah,
is being taken a piss out of to the point where it's now got a movie made out of it.
yeah. And it's like when I first saw that Pirate Radio Dreams, is it or whatever it is, or Tower Block
Tower Block
Dreams,
Dreams, yeah.
I just couldn't take it seriously. I was like, "Is this a joke? Is this for real?" And then now them guys have just done a spin. Oh, it's great. I think it's brilliant.
It's the way they flipped it is amazing.
Yeah, it is brilliant. It's brilliant. I was down there the other day actually. Green Dragon. That was jokes. Yeah.
Legendary blocks, them one.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's deep down there.
So yeah, obviously you guys started Flex FM back up, and yeah, 94.2 originally. Where were you coming out of at the start? Were you using Sutton or did you go straight back up to Southfields?
Oh, you're just gonna pick my brains. Do you want me to tell you where we were coming from? No one's gonna ever think of it. There's some gasworks in Mitcham.
Okay.
Right. And there's a great big mast. The next time anyone drives through Mitcham, look out for that mast. It's a monster. We used to call it Big Daddy. And it'll take you about 40 minutes to climb it. It was terrifying. I mean, oh my God, we were just coming off that. We were double stacking off this thing. Mate, it was a monster. Absolute monster. Yeah. Had to climb over this massive fence into the gasworks and then get in and jokes. But yeah, we were there. And then we jumped around quite a bit because we were just trying out new places. We always ended up back at Southfields, but we all know Southfields is flames. It's like ones have just got hard on for pirates. So yeah, we used that. We went all over. We ended up, I reckon, we was in Wandsworth for a bit further down the road, and in Battersea was on that block for about 2 years.
Is that the blue and white one down there?
Yeah, it's not now. That's a change of cladding, so everyone, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
my missus lives about a 2-minute walk from there. So
yeah. We actually climbed down the outside of that one and put a safe on the outside about 10 foot down, so they just couldn't get it. All they could do was cut it, and then we just used to connect it back up to switch it back on. They hated us. They absolutely hated us. And then I think the 997 days, it ended off at being up at the Triangle at Palace, and we was up off the mast at the top. We was just right at the top of the mast. Bosh, have that in a safe. Yeah, that was back. Not the big mast.
No, but the one on top of the road.
The one on the high street, on the high street by the Triangle.
Any real connoisseurs will remember those buildings there, them shops as the old WR shops. Anyone who really, really knows their salt in pirate radio will know about them ones.
I was up there today actually, and I don't know who it is, but there's a stack up there up on the estate agents. I clocked it, and it's got a microwave link receiver on it, but a proper pro one. But I don't know who it is. I haven't got a clue. But yeah, that's a good place, good spot that.
You tend to know where most people are coming from most of the time, even like just among ourselves. Like, and we spoke about it loads on the podcast about like you'll be driving around and you'll go places. Like I was up, you'll know exactly where I'm talking about. But if you're coming from like Clapham Battersea sides and you're going up Brixton Hill, and you go, if you were to turn left to go down to Brixton, you got that Weatherspoons on the right hand side there. But if you go straight, Christchurch Road, that's the one. If you go down there, there's an estate on the left that always gets used. And I went past there with my missus, and there was like 2 different ones. And I'm pretty sure you know, and I know who's on there, but we won't.
I know exactly who that is.
But it's like every time I've gone past there for years, I'm just like, yep.
Yeah.
We do it all the time. I went up. Where was I? I was on a bus the other day actually, and where did I go? I was going up to Palace, and I went up through what's the road called? Crown Point.
Yeah, Crown Point. Yeah. And we all know who that is.
I see a Slim Jim there. I was like, still to this day, like,
yeah. We all know who that is up there. I know exactly who that is. Yeah, man. Yeah, that is jokes.
People have just been like, using the same place. But I rate it. I rate the fact that people are still using the same places. Obviously, getting creative with it and putting it up masts of, mate. Like the fact that people like you doing that, like, is mental to me. Like the fact that people will climb up them fucking. No, not for me.
I've
been up on a couple of blocks.
Yeah,
and I've been up on. I'll tell you about the ones after because I don't want to bait myself up. But you look say what you want on here, but I ain't saying so.
Yeah.
But I've been up on a couple, and I was on one in particular, and it was like it had a railing around it, and I was like, no, this is calm. This ain't too bad. And a mast, no.
I've always we had someone that did most of that. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna start going, oh yeah, I did all those setups. I wasn't fond of the masts. I actually, going back to Rude Awakening, we had a mast on what was it, at Hampstead High Street, and it was on sort of like this waste ground, but it just had this old mast coming. But a mast on top of that hill, oh well, it was getting used, didn't it? So we're up it, and I'll tell you what. And when you got to the top, because if anyone thinks when you're up there mast, it doesn't move. It does move, and I'm telling you, it's like that, and you're swinging around like that because it gets thinner as you go up.
Yep.
So with that mast, we had to climb up. We climbed up on the inside, but when you get to the top, it gets too thin even for me. Do you know what I mean? And then I climb out on the outside when you're at the top. No harness, no nothing. And I remember a time I was up there with a guy called, I think it was Freeze. I know the name of the station. It's not a station. A guy called Freeze from Rude Awakening. And he literally, it's irony here, because he froze up. The weather turned. The mast started moving. Right? We put the rig up, and I had to guide him down whilst climbing down myself. So them masts, I ain't gonna lie, after a few of them, I weren't a fan. But if someone else would do it, I'd be like, crack on. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely terrifying. So out of all the stuff that you've done, and all of them gaffs and all the blocks and everything else, aside from Don Tower, we can't include Don Tower, what's probably your favourite place to set up?
Triangle, Palace. Yeah. It's just, it's a monster. You just smash it everywhere. You hit in France. It's crazy. You can put an aerial on one of the sweet shops that's just tiny, and you smash the universe.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the best. Either that or Epsom Downs. Epsom Downs is good because I used to go. Now we've got all these apps and all these things. You've got like your elevation and stuff. So I literally used to go around with my phone, just driving around and find different places with elevation, like how high above sea level we were. And I knew that if I'd stuck it in a tree, we were going to smash the universe. Yeah, Epsom Downs is a good one. We actually just tacked a lamppost and then run it up through a tree. Put it in a switch spur, and then I got these. I didn't climb that tree. I've still got a video actually. I was watching it a couple of days ago. We got these tree surgeons to climb it up it with spikes and a rope, and then we just put this safe in a tree, and then put the J pole at the top.
Fuck
yeah, man, that was jokes.
way more creative than a tower block. So yeah, the thing with the triangle though, for me, and what it always was whenever I did anything like that, was the view. Like,
oh, bro,
just like to be able to, like, one of my favorite things is, have you ever flown into City Airport?
Yes, many times.
When you come into City, Heathrow to a certain degree does it, but when you come into City Airport,
no, City Airport's different.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Seeing the city that you're from that height, being able to see everything, especially as someone who's like a radio, you're just thinking if I had a like, dipole hanging out the window here, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But especially as someone who's a radio head. But yeah, for me, it was always the views. That's like, and that one, I was up Palace the other week, and there's like, I can't remember what bus I got. I was going somewhere and I jumped on it. I think it was a 137 or something. It goes all the way up Crown Point and then it goes all the way up to Palace from Streatham. And yeah, and literally, if you look out the window as you're going up on this double decker bus, it just gets higher and higher and higher. Mate, there's nothing you can't.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. And there's still people up there to this day that you probably haven't even clocked yet.
Yeah.
Because I clocked 2 more literally today, or it was yesterday I clocked it, but I'm working over there at the moment. So I clocked another 2 up there. I knew one was up there, but I found another 2 that are still using it up there, just proper covert. It's sick. It's sick, man.
There is, as a quick transition, there's actually a pirate station, Select, which have gone legal. Yeah. And coincidentally and ironically, they are also going to be using one of their old main blocks for broadcasting. If you look on the Ofcom website and all that, they're going to be using it. So I'm not baiting anyone up. Like they're going to be using their old location for transmitting as a pirate as a full legal station as well, which is, first of all, for me, is fucking hilarious.
It's mental.
After all of those years of like causes problems, it causes like it fucking don't. But yeah, they're doing that, and obviously you and I both know exactly where Flex is coming from. It's no secret either.
I set it up. I set that area up.
I remember seeing the pictures of it. Yeah, when you first
I set it up with the old gold ones. Yeah, the old gold. Yeah. That's mine. That's mine.
Talking of it going legal, as for pirate for so many years, getting smashed by the DTI and everything else. You had the before we get into the actual process of it going legal, you had a couple of little documentary features there, as I mentioned. What was behind the process of Newsnight? Because obviously, like, that's a big deal, and I'm assuming it wasn't necessarily in contact with them, but maybe like a third party that got you into it. What was the process of like having the segment on Newsnight, which is on YouTube, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen it?
Yeah, this guy was hitting me up. I can't remember how he got in contact with me. This guy called Dan, and he was sort of freelance, but he said he was freelance, but he was BBC pretty much. And he was just fascinated by Flex because he was like, he lives in North London, like north, and he was like, I can't understand. I know you come from miles away, and I can't say I'll get it everywhere. He's fascinated by it. And I was just like, oh, cool, that's cool. Yeah, we've got a fan, brilliant. But I was very sceptical of the BBC. I was very like, I'm not sure. So over the course of about a month, I think I met him in Wandsworth. We went for something to eat and a couple of beers. And I just tried to get my head around what his angle was. So I was just like, what's this guy want? What's he doing? I was thinking, is he going to try to bait us up and all that? I was thinking, nah. Because obviously with the Vice documentary I did before, I mean, I literally just kidnapped them and took their phones off him, blindfolded them. And then
it's funny. There is a scene in that where you literally push the geezer into the back of the car. Get that on and shut up. Just get in there. That was funny.
Yeah. I blindfolded them all and took all their SIM cards out their phone. I should have put in some silver foil and put silver foil over the reds or something. So back to the BBC thing. Yeah, so I met him a good few times. I sussed him and thought, I think this guy just wants to do a thing on radio. Like I went back to the guys and I was like, I think it's got to be done. So we just went for it. I mean, everything I've ever done for any documentary, I've vetted, and I'm like, I'll do it. But I want to see the footage and I want to have the final say. It's always been that. And I'm like, if there's anything I don't like, I'm going to nut off. It's going to be a problem. And you're going to have to deal with that problem. So I just said, try and say that's what you're going to do. And we do what you want pretty much to a certain extent. But we've had loads of things taken out, lots of documentaries. And like we did the Music Nation, the Channel 4 thing. And we filmed with them for ages. And then, yeah, we made them blur out certain things, bits of graffiti that were outside the studio. We went in. We were dictating to them, like, I don't want this, you can't say that, you can't show this, because you're letting them into your private world, and it's your life for so many years that you've got to vet these people, man, because they can just hop you up. It's happened before to a certain station that one of my good pals runs still now, and I just couldn't deal with having that happened to us. I thought, no, I've got to vet this properly first. It
has to be done. Was it how was the experience for the fella that was filming and that when you were taking him up on the blocks and things like that?
He was generally excited. I think he was well educated, and he was a university guy. But he was genuinely excited, and it was just like, you know what it is. You got the keys to the roofs, isn't it? You can, keys to the city, go anywhere, man. So he was just gassed for it. I think he's thinking, this is going to blow. I'm going to sell it to the BBC for loads of money. And I think that's what he's thinking. He's just pound signs just ringing up in his eyeballs.
Yeah. I noticed in the film you went into the you went up onto the white blocks there, up like the back of sort of Clapham Park area. I wanted to ask, because they're not that big and it ain't that high up there. How was it getting out when you were using that? Was that sort of something you just had to use them to be somewhere?
No, we weren't even on that block. That wasn't even our site, mate. That was someone else. That was someone else that we were setting up for.
Got ya.
So we just used that block. We never took him to our site. We was on Crystal Palace. Yeah. So, and then everybody says that. And I had a thing with Vision were crying about that one as well, weren't they? Because they said, "Oh, we baited up their blocks." You know, the battleships, Dulwich. Yeah. Everyone knows them. Everyone's seen them. They look like a load of battleships. But we didn't bait them up, and we didn't go near their stuff. We used it because it's an iconic location. That was all that was behind it. We didn't try and want to cause no one no beef. You can see how I'm talking now. It ain't that time.
No, there's loads of people that have used them blocks over the years.
Yeah, man.
I was up that way again. I was up that way not too long ago, and there's no one coming off of there. There's no one coming off of there at the minute. I know that for a fact. Do you know the other one around there that did used to boom though? But the trouble is there's it's mainly getting used by legals and DAB now. Is the one up Greysted Road just around the corner from there? There's like another residential block, and it's got the
I know it now. Yeah, I know it.
That used to get battered back in the day. I know that much as well.
But doesn't that only go one way? It doesn't go back, does it? I don't think that one does it.
No, it does, but it's not that great heading back towards south. It's better to go into because there's a slight little bit of the hill on Forest Hill there, so it's a little bit bigger than that block. But no, if you're going into Central and trying to get across, that site there is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I know. Represent 1073 actually used.
That's right.
Yeah, so big up them guys. Played on there quite a few times. Big them.
Yeah, man. Big up Represent, man.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, what was the feedback like? I mean, you mentioned it there, a couple of people moaning about like locations and stuff like that, but what was the general feedback like of the Flex, not just you yourself, but the Flex was getting from that? Was it, I mean, no publicity is bad publicity in a sense, but when it's something illegal, it can be. But what was the feedback like that you guys were getting? And what, you know, did you have much contact with the BBC themselves, or was it all done through that fella?
It was all done through that fella. I didn't really have a lot of contact. I had a lot of contact when he was in the editing suite at the BBC. Like I say, with don't use this, use that, blah, 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 blah. The feedback that we got from the heads, the people in the scene, obviously everyone's hating on us. Everyone loves to hate on us, man. They always did. So I was just like, well, just let them hate, innit? Like you said a minute ago, any publicity is good publicity. I definitely think that was one of the changing points that helped us drive towards the license. Do I think the license is a good thing or not? That's another story.
We'll get into that before.
That's another story. We'll get into that.
But no, I mean, like you guys came across really well from it. As you said, like, you know, in the Vice one, you and Carl even said, you know, like, we don't want anything negative to come out of this.
That's right.
There's no point in any of that. You know, and yeah, I do, you know, I think you guys came across well. You know, at the end of the day, yeah, let's call it what it is. We're criminals. Pirate Radio, we're criminals. Cool. Fair enough. Sweet. But there's criminals and there's criminals, and none of us ever come across like that, and you guys certainly didn't. Do you know what I mean? So I think, if anything, you know, probably opened a few eyes to a few people, and you know, you're never going to shut up your middle class white LBC listener who's going to moan about things. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, it certainly didn't do you any harm. Let's put it that way. No,
it definitely didn't. And I forgot. It's just come into my mind. I went on to Digital Spy. Do you know Digital Spy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went onto there and they had a piece on it and they were talking about it. And these are like radio amateurs. And they weren't actually slagging us off. So I was like, wow. Like normally they're just absolutely slating the pirates, but they wasn't slating us. So I was like, that's a bit of a turnaround. So yeah, man.
Yeah. So before we get into, you know, the final steps of getting Flex to become legal and everything else and the decision behind that, talking, you know, as a hardened criminal, what were some of the worst punishments you ever got? I know you said you've been to court a couple of times for radio and that, and you actually said it as well in the BBC thing. What were some of the worst punishments you ever got for doing radio? Did you ever get hit that bad?
No, because they're wallies. And I'm going to say it straight up. DTI a different kettle of fish. They were decent back in the day. All these Ofcom guys, ex-Old Bill, ex-Army, or didn't quite make it kind of thing. They're all twerps, and so are their lawyers. I'm going to say it straight up. They're going to a court. They're going into a court with a magistrate who ain't got a clue what they're even talking about radio. What is this radio? It's used to people coming and getting stabbed and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in Wimbledon magistrates and Croydon magistrates court, and then talking about radio, and then talking about in the same sentence, oh, he's got to pay 12 grand and got to have this ASBO and all this and all that. And they're like, what are you talking about? So my punishment, I walked away. I literally laughed at them. I used to laugh at them and just go, "What are you going to do? 20 grand or whatever they." And then I think the worst one I've got was £400 fine. They went, "When do you want to pay it?" I went, "I'll pay it now." I'll pay it now. See you later. I was like, "Do one." I just got pointing at him, laughing, walking out cool. Do you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous. Yeah. Like even the judge could see how ridiculous it was. He's like, "Well, what's he done?" And then like, "Well, he's been charged with burglary." Yeah, but my solicitor's going,
what did he steal?
Yeah, what did he take? He's got the keys. Do you know what I mean? Well, he shouldn't have the keys. Yeah, but he needs them for his job. And it's just like everything they were saying, it was just making it more ridiculous and made them look stupid. And it also helped. Is one of my good pals. He works for a solicitor company as well. So he just used to just do one and get me off anything. Yeah. So, yeah, man. So a £400 fine, that's it. I mean, I could delve into something else, but I'm not sure I actually want to talk about that. So let's leave that there. Me and you could talk about it off the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I remember, as I say, listening to Paul S's podcast, one of the first episodes he'd done, he had Pyro on there. Pyro was talking about getting nicked for doing True FM, the breakfast show. And they nicked him, they took him in, blah, blah, blah. And the judge took pity on him. And the reason the judge took pity on him, again, same thing. He didn't really understand anything about radio. Didn't really get it. He just knew a law had been broken, right? So he's in there and he's basically said, oh, you know, you've had it hard already. They've taken your CDs. And Pyro's like, I could burn them in an hour. Yeah. Like literally could burn my entire collection again in a couple of hours. Like, all right, mate. Yeah, no, yeah, my CDs are gone. It's fucking awful, mate. I've never had it so hard in my life. But that's the thing, like the system in and of itself, and it's, you know, it's why it is, you know, obviously there are drawbacks to being legal, but it is pretty cool that the fact that Flex have managed to do it after all of these years. The system in and of itself for underground music is so disrespected, it's so undervalued, it's so underappreciated. If it wasn't for people, you know, like as you say, like we all know, you can have beef between certain stations and everything else, and all of that nonsense has happened back in the day, and still with other stations it happens now. All of that can happen. Egos getting away, all of that nonsense, all of the stupidity, breaking the law, doing everything else. But if it wasn't for that, the UK music industry would be absolutely shite.
Million and 1%. I totally agree with you there. It was groundbreaking. We didn't have the web. We didn't have all those things where it's so accessible. It was literally that was the go-to thing, the pirates. So I 100% solely agree with you. I'm so nostalgic. It's unreal. I'm almost gutted, like heartbroken. It's sort of died a death, and it has died a death. Yeah. So don't let anyone say any different. It has. The whole thing has changed. I mean, even going back with what I was saying about the transmitters and all that, like losing so many transmitters. Like Ofcom could have beat us back in the day. They literally, like I said, that we had us down to the last one. But they worked out a way out to beat us. And we know what that is. They worked it out. They were smarter because we were like, license. Oh, mate. They worked it out and they had us sus. I'll give them a license. Shut them up. Yeah. But make it a load of shit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's there's a really good documentary. You've probably seen it. I think it's called The Last Rebels. It's on YouTube. And it's Rodney P. Rodney P does it. And he's on there talking to Gordon Mack, and he's on there talking to all the fellas that used to run LWR and all these other stations. And they did the same thing in the 80s where they dangled the carrot and they said, right, if you all switch off, you'll be able to apply for licenses. You won't all get them, but, you know, like switch off, go silent, and we'll look into giving everyone licenses. And I think it was twice They promised them that, and twice they fucked. In the end, LWR was getting more listeners than Capital and Radio 1.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Kiss was in its infancy, but it weren't far off either. Like the Pirates were really ruling the airwaves, and LWR in the end, the fella just sort of said, "Fuck it, I'm not even trusting these people again to even attempt to give me a license." Kiss obviously managed to do it in 89/90. They finally managed to get theirs, but within 2 or 3 years, it had just been turned into something that it never was supposed to be. But yeah, that's what they do. That is their final. That's the final boss. Is the license?
Yeah. But what the difference between Kiss and Flex is? Kiss got a commercial license, and they're allowed to make proper money.
Yeah.
Flex hasn't got that. It's like a community radio station license. It's not the same thing. It's too many hoops to jump through. Yeah. And that's the difference. That's why Gordon Mack could just get rid of it to a big corporation and go, sweet.
40 million
yeah,
quid.
Sweet. I'm having it. And now I'm going to go and set up my side and play what I want to play. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But it's a different game. I'm going to say it how it is. Ofcom, in the end, was smarter than the Pirates. Back in the day, we were smarter than them because they must have sat down and thought, how are we going to clobber this lot? How can we beat them? I've actually got like video of me ringing up Ofcom and like having it out of them because we actually caught them filming us with like wildlife cameras. And I said, "Do you want your camera back?" And all this and all that. So I pissed them off. I used to piss them off. I said, "Well, give me the address and I'll send it to you." Do you know what I mean? So I really pissed them off. They must have sat down and had meetings about us and gone, "What are we going to do about these guys? They're lunatics. Like we can't keep them off for an hour." Do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Then they'd probably waiting around the corner and they'd just come and try and clap the next one and then we just put it back on. Yeah. So they sat down, they worked it out. They went, give them the license, restrict it all and make it crap. So
what was behind the procedure then? Was it a joint decision with everyone to turn the station legal and go in that direction? Was it sort of at a stage where it was like now or never? Look, we're either going to go legal and stay on, or it's kind of like last dance saloon for us.
Yeah, we weren't going anywhere. As you see, as what I was saying in the Newsnight documentary, we were just like, nah, we ain't going to do that. We're doing this. We're just going to keep going and all that. It was actually a guy called Max Britton.
I know Max quite well.
You know Max, yeah. It's actually Max. Yeah. It was actually Max, and I'm going to say it how it is. And if anyone hates on what I'm saying, then stick it out of your ass. Yeah, Max come through, and Max was the one who started the license application, and then it got moved on, and we ended up paying another entity to fill out the license. That's what they did. They charged people to fill out the license. I mean, when we put the license in, the license application, you have to jump through hoops to get a license. I've read it. Yeah, it's online. And they were saying, yeah, it's one of the best license applications I've seen. So like, that's what I was told. So that was what it is. Max started it and Max planted the seed and we all just went, well, let's do what we got to do to get it. And then I remember the night when we knew we got the license, and I remember there's a video floating around of us all celebrating and all that. But for me personally, it was the worst thing that could have happened. It just lost its vibe. It's lost its way. Yeah. And Ofcom knew that, man.
Yeah. So obviously,
that's only my opinion, though. That's my opinion. Yeah.
It's still, regardless of what we all think about commercial radio and everything else, you can all sit there and say, with caveats or asterisks even, but hell of an achievement to go from a squat in Roehampton to having decent twin studios and all of the decent equipment and everything else. Obviously, things do change and things are a bit different, but you were on there when it was illegal at the start.
Yeah.
So when it went legit, you were there at the start. And as you say, you set up as well. So how ironic was it, and how much fun was it to be able to finally go up on Don Tower as legal Flex FM technicians, go up there, put up the golden dipoles, and obviously, is there much difference other than maybe some slightly better equipment that you've got funding for, or is it basically just almost pretty much exactly what you were doing before?
It going on the roof. I'm so used to being on the roofs and doing the tech work It wasn't much difference. I've actually got a photo from, I think, about 2000 that someone took of me on Don Tower, and I've got another one from when we first set up, which was 2016, 17. I can't remember, but I've got the same. But it's still, if I want to go up on a roof, I'm going on a roof. It's no different. Like, it's like bothered. Do you know what I mean? What are you going to do? Because of my job, I'm up on the roofs all the time anyway, all over. You know, that's why I've got the keys and the master girders and the master multi-locks and all that. So for me, it's just normal. I go up with my high vis. So it being a pirate or being legal, no one's going to, oh, well, you can go up there now. I mean, I'll give you an example. We went to go and have a little recce, even though we knew the block like back of our hand. We waited for the council to turn up. Geezer didn't even have the keys. It was like, mate, he was stoned. This is guy from the council. And it was like, what, you ain't got the keys? I went, let me go and get the master out of the car. And then we're letting the council in when we're going to recce the site about where, well, bruv, you couldn't even write this nonsense.
But, you know, did they not give you any sort of hassle about using that site as a transmission site anyway?
They didn't want Flex to use that site. I don't know why. I think it was because it's so bloody high.
It's fucking sour grapes, mate. Is what it is.
Yeah. It's salt in the wounds, isn't it? But I'll tell you where they wanted Flex to go. They wanted Flex to go and St Helier Hospital. That is where they wanted Flex, up there.
Yeah, all right.
Good because luck, they wanted to restrict the broadcast area. You see that? Yeah. Because if you look at the broadcast pattern of Flex, yeah, it's not meant to be getting where it's getting.
No, I've looked at that as well. I've got the Ofcom document as well. So.
And that's the Freedom of Information Act that I have to declare with that. Yeah. But it's going a lot further than that. Let's have it right. Come on. Yeah. So there's a lot of things, you know, Ofcom suggested St Helier, but yeah, whatever. We was like, do one. Don't think so.
No. That's like, you know, you would be covering Sutton, bits of Merton, blah blah blah. But you wouldn't be getting many. You wouldn't get far at all.
No.
So yeah, in terms of the equipment and that, obviously, like, you know, how much better than standard pirate stuff would you say that the gear is that you had to install up there? And was it regulated? Did they check on any of like the equipment you were putting together, or is that just up to you?
I've got to watch what I say because I'm no longer a part of Legal Flex. Yeah. Was it regulated? No, but they know. You can tell. Was it checked? No. So, and how much different is it? It's just a rack mount compared to like a box. It's still just a box. It's better quality equipment. I mean. Everything up there is broadcast warehouses, which is Roger, God rest his soul. So it's all his stuff up there. So it's decent gear.
Yeah.
But then we were using someone else for the pirate stuff, which was just as good.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's much difference in the kit that you use to broadcast. It's still quality kit, like you said earlier. All that, how it's causing interference in the airplanes, all that's all bollocks,
mate. That is absolute fucking like it's not even the same frequencies.
It's miles away. it's months away. Come on.
It's ridiculous, mate. Honestly, whenever I've heard things like that, and it's just like, oh well, you know, they interfere with ambulance, mate. They do not interfere with ambulances. No. They're all on completely separate bands. Like it's all so far apart. Like. It's just the only thing that does happen, and it has happened, and we know it happens, is sometimes they knock into legal stations. But that's just bad. That's just bad setting up. That's all that is.
Yeah, it is, and it's also, believe it or not, it's the volume, the output volume as well, because it opens up
compression and stuff like that. You've got to have all of that right before you can, even just to put out an internet stream. You really, a lot of people don't know that. To like, even like that's why a lot of these times you'll hear people broadcasting from home and doing their home sets and that, which is cool. And like, you know, I've done a few of them. Like, I love doing all that. But if you haven't got, you know, a compressor limiter and you're putting it through something. Yeah, it's always going to sound amateurish, you know. Like, you know, you can always tell when radio stations are going to be like one or two rig wonders because they're doing exactly the same thing.
Exactly that. Yeah, the bass is popping and all that. Yeah.
So yeah, that is really important as well. But yeah, with some of the ones with legal stations, I remember, you know, I was on Ice Cold for a lot of years, but I only went on there when it was 103. So once they took over 103, but they had to get off 971 because they were just getting hammered by LBC. But you know, a lot of that is also because, you know, Tracy's in her house and she's wanting to listen to LBC and she's turning her little dial on her radio and she's picking up
Yeah.
I'll Bring You Flowers when all she wants to listen to is the breakfast show on LBC. So that's the bigger problem is, oh, well, I can't even hear it because you don't know how fucking radio works, love.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the thing is, it is the complaining listeners because the legals are using kilowatts, and the pirates are using a few hundred watts. Do you know what I mean? So how does that work? Oh, well, it's knocking out so-and-so, LBC, and they're using 10, 20 kilowatts. Yeah. It's like, how the bloody hell are they doing that? Do you know what I mean? So, yes, waffle.
So, what was your experience like, in the early days of it being legal and DJing on there and stuff? Like, you said straight away you felt a difference and it weren't really going to be for you. What was it like on there in the early start of it when you were still sticking around? I suppose you get that early buzz, though, don't you? You do get that early buzz.
I did when we found out we won the license. I was like, we've achieved something now. We've actually achieved it.
Because, all due credit and respect, not a lot of people can do it, like as I said,
that's true.
Select has just about done it. And Select, you'll probably agree with me, has been probably consistently one of the best pirate stations in the city for the last 15 years.
Yeah, they're on it.
Ridiculously on it. Like it's just so good all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously Rinse is, we talk about the importance of pirate radio. Rinse has probably been at the forefront of
definitely
every major movement since 2000. Whether it's grime, dubstep, whatever, it's all been Rinse FM. UK funky, like half of the UK funky tracks were made by DJs that were on fucking Rinse. Do you know what I mean? So, like to be up there with that kind of company it's important. It is a special thing.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, it is an achievement. It's just, it's a hard one for me. I'm sort of tiptoeing around this answer, but I don't know. It's just not the same for me. And when the politics comes involved and then the rules, I'm not really down with that. And then it just weren't, the vibe was gone for me for getting it. But I'm proud. I'm branded, I'm proud, and I've never hated on Flex FM. It was a different journey for other people, and it wasn't for me.
Earlier in the podcast, though, you said it yourself. You're not necessarily a DJ as much as you are a roof man.
Yeah, I'm a roof man.
When that element of it is out of the equation, and you haven't got to do that anymore, it's going to take a piece of the way. It really is.
Yeah, definitely, because that rig up there now is not going to get clapped by Ofcom, is it? You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think it's going to get clapped by anyone the way it's plumbed, the way it is put in. But it's like that is part of the buzz of the radio. Is like coming back from putting it on and realizing it's getting out nice, and then the enjoyment of it all, and that had something to do with it. But I think mainly it's the politics. The politics kicks in. The people that you think ain't the same, and it is what it is. There's a lot of bum lickers around. So all you bum lickers out there, stop licking bums. No one likes it. It's dead. It's not nice. So, yeah, there's all that going on. I was just like, you know what? Like, I went on social media and went, I'm done. See you later. And that was it. I didn't ever turn up again. I was just like, I've had enough.
No, fair enough, mate. It is what it is, isn't it? Like, and yeah, they're booming though. They're sounding good. They've got, I know they're doing a lot of different stuff, and I'm not a massive fan of a lot of their programming, but I mean, I've got a mate who does the Mondays on there, Monday afternoon, 4 till 6. Big up Blaze, he's been on the podcast as well. There's loads of people I know that still go on there, and there's some really, really good shows, and they have a lot of really good guests in that. So yeah, big up Flex and big up everything they've achieved, and big up yourself for being a part of it, mate, because it's like it's a journey. Like really, really is a journey, and it's quality to actually be able to sit down and chronicle that. Look, yeah, all right, so we started a squat, we do this, we do that, we get nicked, we do this, we do that, but then at the end of it, like, you're one of these big things that everyone seems to claim to be, is like this magical world of legal radio stuff. And really and truthfully, is it any better than a pirate? Not really. Like no legal stations like sound that much better. I mean, a lot of legal stations, like I'll cuss one of them, Heart FM, for example, their audio quality is dog shit.
It's
Like it's
shocking.
absolutely dog
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
compared to a station that you mentioned earlier, like Vision. Like Vision have always had a banging output. Everything's always sounded crisp.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
even no matter where you are. I mean, obviously you get patches where signals crap, but when you're locked in and it sounds good or on the audio stream or whatever, like it's pucker. Like it's
What about Point Blank?
Point Blank
Yeah.
have always been on point. Always,
Bro,
always.
they smashed it. Who's that? Excess. We got Excess, man.
Yeah, I mean they don't get out anywhere near as well as they used to, but you know, at one point when they were coming off the dragon there, like they were just
Mm,
ridiculous. Like around I think maybe '04 to '06 or something. I remember
mm,
Point Blank, Passion, and Unknown. I didn't listen to anything but them stations.
mm.
Like they were just absolutely fucking ridiculous. So yeah, no, a lot of great stations over the years. And they put legal stations to shame. You know, I mean, if, but flicking through some of the legal stations are just trying to either listen to commercial music is just painful, mate.
It is painful. It is very. It is. It's a shame, but that's the way it is. That's what they wanted. They want to monetize everything, don't they? Or control everything.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. They don't like it when the pirates have a voice, and I don't know. I guess I just miss that side of things. The journey's not over for me. I'm actually when I spoke to you on the phone last night. We're actually working on something at the moment, a little project. It's a film stroke documentary, and it's based on London music culture and pirate radio. So watch this space. Go and have a check out of Bearing UK on YouTube, and then that give you a little idea of some of the stuff that we're up to at the moment. So I'm still out here doing what you're doing, celebrating it, and trying to show the young'uns and all the youth them that we're, without us, you wouldn't have all these videos on YouTube and all this style of music, because we were the ones who started all that.
Yeah. Initially, do you know what's mad with this, right? Is initially I've had mates that have gone on and on and on about me doing a podcast for fucking years. Like I will. It's one of them weird ones. Like, I've told the story a couple of times on various other podcasts, and I think I might have mentioned it on here. Like I'm similar to you. Like people would like a lot of people rate me as a good DJ, right? And that's great, cool, whatever. Played a lot of places, played for a lot of brands, wicked, brilliant. But for me, my love was always hosting radio. Like it was never necessarily about being a DJ. It was always about being a really, really good fucking. And that's one thing that I know. And I've got mates that play on legal stations. I've got mates that play on pirate stations. Like I had one of my mates turn around to me and say to me that between 2013 and 2015, when I was on Flight and then when I was on S Dance, like there was no one on pirate radio sounded like me. No one, like absolutely. And I'll stand by that because I've got all them fucking sets and going like, listen, man, like Brass Tooth, who came on this podcast, hit me up after one of my shows and said, "How the fuck are you not on Radio 1?" So that's how good I was, right?
That's mad. That's mad, bro.
But as a result of that, because of the hosting and the way I can talk to people and just keep up energy on a show, everyone's like, "Oh, why don't you do a podcast? Why don't you do a podcast?"
Yeah, it's good.
The thing is I always put it off until I was a guest on my mate's podcast, and then I was like, "Do you know what? I could do this, and it's easy enough to do. I just buy a mic, I sit at home, I know how audio editing works, and blah blah blah." And one of my mates, Mr. E, said to me, I was like, right, so this person's agreed to come on, Brass Tooth, Tough Love, all these like names that I know in the scene, and that they're all coming on, and blah blah blah, and then he was like, "Yeah, but do you want it to be just about the scene?" And I didn't. I actually didn't. So I've had other people come on, and I've had personal trainers come on. I've had singers. I had geezer that works for It's Gone Viral, like loads of different guests. All regulars of the podcast will know about them. And if you're not a regular of the podcast and it's your first time listening, subscribe, you cunts. But like, it was a conversation where it was like, don't just make it about the scene. And I wasn't going to, but when I did the first podcast, the first episode I recorded was BQ. And we sat down and we spoke for like 4.5, 5 hours, like even off air. Like we just went in on it. And it was like, no, it has to be about the scene. It has to be a tribute to the thing that I know and love and has like guided me through times in my life where things have been difficult and I've not felt like I've fitted in. And it has to be the thing that I've always loved since I was a kid. So yeah, I'm going to do podcasts talking about other stuff. And, I had a geezer on a couple of episodes ago. We spoke about personal training for an hour and then we spoke about Marvel films for an hour. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're always going to have them good shows where you could talk about other stuff, but it has to be the scene. And to hear that you're doing a little project as well, I'll be looking into that. And yeah, if you ever got anyone else who wants to come on and promote them kind of things and stuff like that, or if there's ever any work we can do together, then I'm always about, mate. I think it's really good to see so many people from the manor doing different things. I don't know if you've seen it, but you probably know 706 and the story there. They're making a film about all the WZ graffiti gang and everything else. Like that's coming out soon. There's a couple of Flex FM boys on there. Big up Smokey B. Shouts out to you, mate. So there's like, all different things like that are coming out of the area and coming out of the underground scene. And yeah, mate, if you're doing something like that, fucking spot on.
Yeah, we're on it, and we were literally just we were filming on Sunday. Actually, it's an amazing. We call it every day that we go out filming. We call it our adventures. Where are we going for our next adventure? It's mind blowing. It's like our locations, our people, the people we're hooking up with. It's jokes. So yeah, we're doing it for exactly the same reason you are, bro. So respect for what you're doing, man.
Yeah. And also, we spoke about it just at the start as well. Like, big up Ashley J and everyone who's finally got round to watching the Freeze FM documentary. Ashley came on back in mid-April, and like it was really mad. He hit me up and he was like, "Bro, I know we've done the podcast and we promoted the thing and that." He's like, Wiley's just give me a bell, and he's like, he wants to, because Wiley was obviously like with Eskimo dance and Freeze and all that kind of thing, and he was like, yeah, Wiley wants to be involved, and then this person's come on now and said they want to do an interview for it, and like, so he's like, mate, like it's got to be delayed. So it ended up getting delayed by about 6 weeks. So big up everyone who was listening that wanted to listen to that and watch that. The Freeze documentary, it is out now. Go and check it out. Freeze FM on YouTube. The documentary is up there for free. And apparently this podcast is going to be dropping on Wednesday. So a couple of days ago, in theory, on Sunday, there should be a mini documentary about MC Hyperactive, a good friend of mine. It was obviously a big part of Freeze and Flex as well, coincidentally.
Yeah, man. Big up Hypes, man.
Yeah, every time. So Hypes is going to be there's a bit of a featurette coming out about him and loads of other people as well. So keep an eye on the Freeze YouTube if you're really interested in the kind of stuff that me and Dan have been talking about on today's episode. Pirate Radio, London underground scene, where things came from and everything else. I think it's really important that we highlight it, and really important that we keep it alive, even though the scene is pretty much dead. I mean, shouts out to all the pirates that are still going. Big up you lot, because fuck me, it's a slog.
It is indeed, man. It is indeed.
So any final thoughts on your life and times of Pirate Radio, and any final things you'd like to say to anyone out there who's been involved over the years?
Boy, I've not regretted any of it, even standing in court and sitting in police cells and things like that. I've had a whale of a time. So, I mean, I've travelled the world because of it. So, like with the DJing and going to the International Radio Festival and Portugal, we've gone all over. And I don't regret any of it. Like, it was absolute jokes. It was an absolute ball ache for quite a lot of the time, but majority of the time it was jokes all the way through. And I just want to big up all the pirates out there, not just the old Flex boys, all the pirates, or all the people that were involved in the scene and gave us everything what we got today because of it, from it. See what I'm saying? That's pretty much me, man. Big up everybody who's ever been involved in any of it. Yeah.
Big. So what was it you said people can catch up and look up the stuff you got working on? What was the address again? Yeah,
we've got nothing up as of yet. I reckon we're at least a year off. I ain't even going to lie, because we are going in. But if you want to check out my guy, Bearing UK, and that's on YouTube, have a look at some of the... he's done some docs on UK Garage, Jungle, Drum and Bass, and Pirate Radio. So go give him a little check out. Drop a little like on that as well. And that's where you'll be catching what we're doing in the future. Yeah, man. Thanks for that.
So episode number 16 of the Over the Hill podcast. Special guest Dan James, aka Outlaw, Pirate Radio legend. We're out of here. Don't forget, subscribe, follow on YouTube, Spotify, Google, TuneIn, Castbox, everywhere else, iTunes, the full works.
Do that.
Big shouts out to everyone who's been watching the episodes on YouTube. By the time you listen to this, there will be another couple going up. I'm a little bit behind. Trying to process and save YouTube videos and get them uploaded is, you used the words earlier, a ball ache. Like, it's an absolute ball ache. So and when you work a full-time job and you got a relationship and everything else to deal with, and we're out of lockdown now, so there's things to do. I can't say to her, oh well, we can't go nowhere tonight because nowhere's open. It's like, that ain't gonna run anymore. So big up everyone who's been subscribing on YouTube. More videos are going to be coming. There's 9 episodes up there already, and they're all at least an hour and a half long each. A couple of them are even longer than that. So there's plenty of content for you to enjoy. But in the meantime, listen to the audio, subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere else. Get in touch with the show, the Over the Hill podcast at gmail.com. And until until then, keep listening to underground music and, stop playing with yourselves in public, you dirty bastards.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Dan, it's been a pleasure, mate. Take care.
Yeah, man. Big up, bro. Respect.